Okay then, today we're going to geek out a little bit. We're going to do some VOR navigation in the Cessna C182. We're also going to pick up an ILS and we're going to have a play with the approach mode. Do it fully automated, so we'll let the plane land itself just to show you how good it is at doing that. And it is excellent. So the plane itself, it is an add-on. It's not one of the free ones from Microsoft, but it's well worth it. It's fantastic. It's from Coronado. They only do good planes. Every one I've got from them has been absolutely first rate. You get all these liveries come with it. They've all got slightly different interiors. The attention to detail is just phenomenal. You'll see when you get inside it. It's really, really good. So for those that like these little planes that I do, they're fantastic. So we'll go for the standard one, the blue one. And I'll just show you what we plan on doing today. We're going to take off from Petaluma, which is just north of San Francisco. We'll do a cold start in Petaluma, take off, and quite early we'll bank to the right, and we're going to pick up the VOR, and I'll show you how we use the VOR. It's basically, what VOR is, for anyone who doesn't know, is just a omnidirectional radio beacon. It sends out its signal in all those directions. You can pick it up with your navigation system and fly directly towards it, and if you want to fly in a particular direction towards it, each one of these corresponds, you can see there, 221, so that's the course in degrees into that one. But you can come in from any direction you want, and you can program it in so that you come in that direction. It'll make more sense when we come to the landing, because for the VOR we're just going to pick any course to it. As soon as we turn right, we're going to head straight to it, so it makes no difference. But when we come to the ILS, yes, that's giving out a signal in all directions, but the important part is to be heading down the runway, because we want to pick up the glide slope so the automated systems work. So we want to be coming in on it says 324 there, but that's from that beacon there. There you go, look, 321 is the angle that the ILS is coming away from the runway, so we want to be heading in on a course of 321. It'll make so much more sense once we're in the plane. So with the first one, with the VOR, we're just going to come in from any direction, head to an omnidirectional beacon. From the second one, we're going to line ourselves up and hopefully let the aircraft take over from this sort of point onwards and bring us all the way into a landing. You wouldn't generally do that. You would normally take over towards the end. You'd let it do most of it and then take over. But just to prove that it can do it, we're literally going to keep our hands off the controls all the way down and let the plane do the work. Okay, so that's the basic flight plan. So let's load into the sim. So I'll just show you what it looks like externally first. As I've come to expect from Coronado, it's absolutely fantastic. The attention to detail is phenomenal. Really, really tidy. Even more inside, but yeah, they've spent a lot of time on that. It's not a particularly expensive one either. I think I picked up when it was on sale, but even at full price, it's one of the cheaper ones. So we're in parking space 9 at Petaluma, which I've chose because it's right next to the runway. That's the runway just behind us there, because I hate having a long taxi. So the plan will be, we'll do a cold start, we'll just explain the navigation quickly, and then we'll get up in the air and we'll head across to the VOR. Once we've hit the VOR, we'll turn around and pick up the ILS. The entire flight, I've done a practice of it, took me about 22 minutes, I think, I want to say. I'll speed a lot of it up so you don't have to sit through the entire thing though. Yeah, lovely looking plane. So we'll just have a little look around the cockpit before we start her up. In fact, first thing we'll do is pop that window open. I will use the head tracking for the flight. While I'm doing the cold start, I'll just turn it off because it's a little bit easier for you to, won't make you feel so sick as I'm banging in the controls. But as you can see, the texturing on it is just fantastic. Really, really detailed. The leather really pops out. And for what is essentially not a very expensive add-on, It's well worth it. Even on like the seat belts, you know, that you're hardly going to see. They've put so much attention to detail into it. Everything works in it. As far as I can see, everything's operable. Doors all work, windows all work. Even the hidden little nooks and crannies, they've detailed. So yeah, well worth it. Okay, so cold start. We'll turn the head tracking off just so I don't make you sick. First thing we're going to do, open the window up, check your parking brakes applied, on, and check your fuel selector is to both. Then once that's done, we can close up the mixture, or open up the mixture rather, and the props to 100%, so mixture and prop to 100%. Crack the throttle, doesn't have to be much, just a little bit, and turn the battery on the left there. You'll hear the beep as the battery comes to life. Then once that's done, we'll turn on the fuel pump. Now the fuel pump is in place of a primer because this aircraft doesn't have a primer, and you'll see the fuel pressure has gone up there to 4. Check we've got enough fuel for the flight, which we have. Lovely. So today's flight, in fact, I'll tell you what, I'll get started first and then I'll tell you about today's flight. So once that's done, we can turn the fuel pump back off, magneto through right. Oh, in fact, sorry, before we do that, you need to look out the window and shout clear, and then magneto to right, left, both. Start. As soon as that's running, turn the alternator on, and we can close up this window. Sounds are really good with this as well. We can turn on the avionics master switch, which is this grey switch over on the left. You'll see everything's coming to life. Now we'll turn on the nav lights, beacon lights, so that people know we're within the aircraft. Now, first thing we're going to do is get our, whilst this is all turning itself on, because it does take a while to get going, this Garmin, we're going to tune in our radio frequencies. So the first one we want is 121.7 for Petaluma ground. Switch that to the main frequency with that button. You see it's 121.7. Okay. And then our next frequency will be Petaluma Tower, which is 118.6. So we'll go to 118.6. When we get there, if we ever get there, 118.6. So all we'll have to do once we're ready to talk to the tower is click that button and away we'll go. Next, navigation wise, you can see here it's a full sat nav, so it is picking up satellites, acquiring satellites. Once it's got enough, we'll get a full GPS map up, but today we're not using that. We're going to switch from GPS mode to a localizer mode, and that will basically, in fact, if I get in, if you watch this screen here, the HSI GPS, oh, it's not going to change because we're still on the ground. No, you won't pick it up because we're still on the ground. But essentially, this is where we will follow our localizer. That'll make more sense once we're up in the air. And there you go. So the map's ready for us. So we'll punch in our first VOR, which is 113.70. Set that to active, so the top one's the active one, and then the next one we'll need will be the ILS for when we're coming into land, and that is 109.70. 0.30. Right, so that's our two navigation frequencies, the only two we're going to need. So I'll just explain what they are. So here's where we are at Petaluma. We're going to fly out, we'll take the runway out in this direction, and then we'll take a sweeping left turn, and we'll come down to here. And what this is a VOR, and it's an omnidirectional radio beacon, so it sends its signal out in all 360 degrees. You can take a specific course to it if you know one of these bearings. We don't need that. We just want to head straight to it from wherever we are. Once we get to that, we're then going to turn back towards Petaluma, but further north, and we're going to pick up the ILS approach to Charles M. Schultz, which is Sonoma, basically, Sonoma County. And this is where we'll get the ILS number that we just put in, 109.30. 321, we must remember, we'll need that later. That is the direction of the runway. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold. So 321 degrees into this runway. So the reason that's important is we're going to be coming from down here, somewhere from here. So if we took a direct line straight into the airport, we're not going to pick up that ILS. So we won't get the glide slope, we won't be able to use the automated systems. And what we want to test today is the auto land function, the approach function. So we want to enter the ILS here and come down the glide slope. That's the plan. So we'll show you how that works once we're in. So the VOR, which is the first one, that's the Reyes VOR, which is great, 16.3 nautical miles. So if we now come over to the HSI, that's already picked up. You see the little nav tabs disappeared because it's picked up the VOR. Come on, easy does it. There, like that. So from this point where we are, you'll walk straight that way and the radio beacon will be straight there. If you were to get out, just walk in that direction. In 16.3 miles, you'll come across that radio beacon. You can use this course bar, so if we adjust it like that, that's going to take us in at a different angle. Remember when I said it had different radials? So it'll make much more sense once we're up in the air. So, final check that we've done everything. Lights are on. We'll switch our taxi lights on so that we're ready to taxi. Fuel pumps have been turned off. Alternator is on. Avionics is on. Everything is in the green. We're hovering. We're idling just over 10,000 RPM, which is perfect. But we've got ample fuel for the flight. Our GPS system is working. Should we get into bother? We will just reset the altimeter. So I've got that hotkeyed, but if you haven't got a hotkey, you can just use this calibration knob just there. We are ready to go. That is the cold start for the Cessna 182. It's really easy, like most of the Cessnas are. Doesn't take a lot. Can be done really, really quickly if you're in a hurry. But it has a really good navigation system, which we're going to have a good play with. One other thing to save a little bit of time, we will get our altitude ready. So I know we're going to cruise at 3,000. So if we set that for 3,000 feet, it's one less thing we've got to do once we're up in the air. So our first radio transmission is to request taxi. So that'll be Petaluma Ground, Cessna, November 1664. Parking spot 9, request taxi for departure. Runway 11, VFR to Point Reyes.
Cessna November 1664, Petaluma Ground, taxi to runway 11 via Alpha, hold short runway 11.
Taxi to runway 11 via Alpha, hold short runway 11. Cessna November 1664. So now that's done, we're not going to talk to ground anymore. We'll be talking to the tower, which is 118.6, so we'll hit the swap button, and then we can put in our next one, which will be Oakland Center, and that's 127.8. By doing it now, it just makes things a lot easier once we're in the air. One less thing to think about. Right, so that's the next frequency. Taxi lights are on. We are ready to taxi. Let's just turn the head tracking back on. So, park and brake off. Open up the throttle. See, runway 11, that's what we want. Stop at the hold short. Okay, and then we're going to pop the parking brake back on. Yeah, that's on. Lovely. So that's us now ready for departure. So I'll come to the tower now. Petaluma Tower, Cessna, November 1664. Holding short, runway 11, ready for departure.
Cessna 1664, Petaluma Tower, runway 11, cleared for takeoff, fly runway heading, maintain 3000.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 11. Runway heading, maintain 3000, Cessna, November 1664. So what we'll do now is turn our landing lights on and our taxi lights off. Park and brake off. Move on to the runway. Quick check left and right. Although we've been cleared, we just want to make sure we're not getting in the way of someone that's landing. Okay, in position, ready for takeoff. So last things to do, we'll drop the flaps, just one stage. We'll adjust our course bar, so it's in, our heading bug, so we are in line with the runway, ready for takeoff. Double check we're at 3000, yes we are. Okay, we are ready for takeoff. So throttle up, looking for about 60 knots. Foggy today. We've got 60 knots. Positive climb, gear up. Yeah, this is live weather, so this is what's going on over. Oh, it's really foggy actually. Hopefully we'll break out of that very shortly. So we're going to turn the heading mode on, autopilot on, and we're going to adjust to, let's say, 900 feet per minute for the climb. So that's now going to hold us on this heading. So, right, that's the autopilot button. That's the heading hold button. So it will keep you on that heading bug. And that's the vertical speed up and down and arm button. So that'll take us up to 3,000 feet. There we go, we've cleared the fog. And we can control the aircraft with this knob here. But we just need to stay in line with the runway just until we've done our next update to ATC.
Cessna 1664. Contact Oakland Center on 127.8.
Over to Oakland Center, 127.8, Cessna 1664. Okay, so we'll press the button to change comms frequency over. And then Oakland Center, Cessna November 1664 off Petaluma runway 11, passing 2,700, climbing to 3,000, direct point res.
Cessna November 1664, Oakland Center, radar contact, proceed direct point Reyes, maintain 3000.
Direct point Reyes, VOR, maintain 3000, Cessna 1664. Okay, so we're now at our cruising altitude of 3000. We now need to turn, because we're still in line with the runway, we can turn our landing lights off now. And we'll use the heading bug. So if we turn it like this, you'll see we start to turn. What we'll do, we'll use the course bar. Wow, there we go. So we use the course bar, spin it round until that's lined up. Got a nice straight line there, and then once that's done, we'll just use the heading indicator. There we go, we're nicely lined up. You can see on the GPS map there is VOR Reyes, and we're heading straight to it, which is ideal. 13.9 miles away, you see on the screen there. So we're at our cruising altitude, so we'll just come off the mixture a little bit, reduce the throttle, keep our cruising speed of 140. Nicely lined up. So now it's just a case of sit and cruise. One thing you've got to be aware of, this arrow will point away as well, so if you go all the way around the course bar, you'll get exactly the same arrow, but see the little arrow at the top there will be pointing away, so you can head away from a VOR as well. So now we just cruise for 12 miles. Let's get our next radio frequency plumbed in, which will be what are we on now? We're on Oakland Center now. So the next one will be the tower, which is 118.5. So 118.6, not far off it. 118.5, ready to go on the standby frequency. Perfect.
Bridge 1901 heavy contact, still got a departure.
Going to departure GPS 2901, good day.
797 heavy contact, still got a departure.
Departure Sudden 0797 heavy, thank you.
County 563 heavy, runway 25 right, mount point.
Alright, 25 right, line up and wait for County 563 heavy.
County 563 heavy contact, departure.
Over to 563 heavy, see you later.
Got a 618 heavy at Foxtrot, cross 25 left, cross 25 right, turn on the Bravo.
25 left, 25 right, cross, on Foxtrot, FedEx 618 heavy.
FedEx 618 heavy, runway 25 right, mount point, opposite travel line on the north side.
Line up and wait, 25 right, FedEx 618 heavy.
So we're now 5 miles away.
FedEx 618 heavy at the shoreline, turn left heading 210, runway 25 right, so take off.
Speed.
At shoreline 210, 25 right,
You
clear
can
for
see we're
takeoff,
just
FedEx
off
618
VOR,
heavy.
which corresponds to us passing it to the left. So it should be, in fact you can see it there,
FedEx
it is that.
486 Heavy
I
at
recognise
Foxtrot,
it's
cross
flown
25
over it so
left,
many
cross
times.
25 right, right
It's a
turn on Bravo.
circular.
Okay, on
Bit of ground over there.
Foxtrot, cross 25 left, cross 25 right, right on Bravo, FedEx 486 Heavy, and we can
Wrong a
accept
little bit.
Foxtrot.
FedEx 486 for wait turn, expect the full lane.
Copy
You
that.
find this will
Full
come
length, cross
out of
25
sync
right to
as you
Bravo,
get close to the
FedEx 486
VOR,
Heavy.
especially when you're within a few miles of it like we are now.
FedEx
That-
618 Heavy contact.
yeah, that's definitely it there on the hilltop. And they'll often be on hilltops because they are radio beacons, so they're normally quite easy to spot.
FedEx 46 Heavy,
Someone's
up
there,
direct travel on the north side, cross returns from a 25 right, line point.
25 right, line up and await, FedEx 486 Heavy.
just adjust so that we pass pretty much directly over it.
FedEx 46 Heavy at the shoreline, turn left heading 210, 25 right, left takeoff.
At the shoreline, left turn heading 210, clear for takeoff, 25 right, FedEx 486 Heavy.
Okay. Perfect.
Enter 41917 out tail Foxtrot, cross 25 left, hold short of runway 25 right.
Alright, cross 25 left at Foxtrot, hold short at 25 right, air transport 1917.
So our next comms, Oakland Center, Cessna, November 1664, over Point Reyes, VOR, request routing to Sonoma County Airport for ILS runway 32.
Cessna November 1664, proceed direct Sonoma County Airport. Expect ILS runway 32. Descend and maintain 2000.
Direct Sonoma County, descend and maintain 2000, Cessna 1664. So first thing we're going to do is switch our frequency over to the ILS. See, it's picked up ILS 32. We're then going to change our course. Our autopilot heading. We want to be going pretty much back the way we came. Meanwhile, while that's doing its thing, we're going to reduce, as per his instructions, to 2000. We'll descend at 600 feet per minute. Now, if we look at the map, we are heading, we've come from a, let me zoom out a little bit. Oops, sorry, it's the wrong way. So we've come from over here. Come from over here. The runway we're trying to get to is over here. We're basically going to head back in that direction and then take a left. Whilst descending down to 2,000 feet. We can descend to 2,000 feet over these mountains. I've flown them before. I know 2,000 is safe. If you were worried, you obviously would have to contact ATC and query that and see if you can go higher. We will set our runway course, which is 321. So when this bar, this is our course bar, once this comes into line and is one solid line, then that is the direct route into the runway, the ILS runway. So it's telling us the course we need to get to is over to the right. So we're going to head straight at it and then take a left turn as we see this bar approaching, if that makes sense. So the route we're taking, it's a long, looking at the sat-nav picture, it's a long there. Now it's just a question of cruising until we get over these mountains and ready for lineup. And then we'll try the autopilot function and we'll see if the plane can land itself, essentially. That's the plan. Normally you wouldn't use the approach mode to land, you'd use it to get you most of the way in and then you'd take over at the last little bit. But we're going to see if it can do it all by itself. It will be able to, because they are very good.
FedEx 86 Heavy, contact departure.
Switching departure, FedEx 486 Heavy.
Air Transport 1917, opposite direction, travel on the north side, cross right turns, 1925 right, 9 point.
25 right, line of way, Air Transport 1917. Tower, hello, Qatari 8177 Heavy, establish localizer, 06 right.
Tower 8177 Heavy, opposite direction, travel on the departing of South Complex, west only the shoreline, wind 004, running 6 right, 7 line.
Roger, we copy this.
Air Transport 1917 at the shoreline, turn left heading 210, 25 right, pick up.
Alright, off shoreline, turn left, 210, Air Transport 1917.
Air Transport 1917, contact departure.
Over departure, 1917.
Tower 8177 Heavy, make 2 right turns onto Echo, remain next frequency.
Just confirm that's right on Whiskey and right on Echo.
Tower 8177 Heavy, affirmative, and remain next frequency.
Roger, welcome. Forget that 8177, shall we continue on Echo?
Tower 8177 takes by Romeo, Bravo, hold short of Tango.
Romeo Bravo, hold short of Tango, Qatari 8177.
Direction 1914, now direction travel on the north side, 25 right, 9 point.
Oakland Center, Cessna, November 1664, with information Alpha, request ILS, runway 32.
Cessna, November 1664, fly heading 321, intercept localizer, runway 32, cleared ILS approach.
Heading 310, cleared ILS, runway 32, Cessna 1664. So we are going to get to test this out really well actually, because the amount of fog that's there. Let's turn our heading slightly. We don't want to get too close to the runway until we intercept that course. And now we've been told to intercept the ILS, we can start to reduce our altitude as well. We're well clear of those mountains now, so we'll drop it down to 1,500 feet. Down at 500 feet per minute. Essentially, we have to be configured and set up before we hit the ILS, or as we hit the ILS, for the approach system to work. So we'll start to reduce our speed as well. So just so you can orientate yourself, where we took off from, Petaluma should be over there. Where we're going is going to be over there. All within the fog. So, challenging landing. Be a bit of a giggle. We won't cheat, we won't look at little nav map to see where we are. This fog's going to make it quite interesting. Speed's coming down nicely. It's just about the speed. This white zone, that indicates where you can use your flaps. So we've got to make sure we're within that before we deploy the flaps. Right, you see the bar starting to move now. See it creeping towards. We'll get ready to make our left turn. We'll do half the turn now because the heading autopilot is limited to how much it can bank. So we need to start relatively early. Then we're going to turn until it's on a course of 3, 2, 1 and fully lined up. So you see it's slowed right down. Just let it creep in. and steady. I think we're going to be pretty much zero visibility as we come in, which is unplanned because it's live weather, but being that we're doing an instrument landing, it's pretty much ideal, really. So we're just slightly off. Just slightly off there. So now we need to contact the tower. So we'll click the button in the middle, and that's the tower frequency. Sonoma Tower, Cessna November 1664, established on the ILS, runway 32.
Cessna November 1664, Sonoma Tower, runway 32, cleared to land. Wind 310 at 8.
Cleared to land, runway 32, Cessna November 1664. Okay, so that's us now. He's basically told us that no one else is going to be approaching, so it's our runway essentially. Let's just bring her a little more into line. Now before we activate the approach mode, we need to be configured. So we need our landing gear down. We are within the white zone. That's telling us we're now slowing right too slow, so we'll drop the gear. Gear coming down. We'll turn on our landing light. And we'll drop our first stage of flaps. Quite nerve-wracking not being able to see anything out the window. Probably testing the systems. Okay, let's turn on the approach mode. And you see it straight away adjusted our course. It's taking us over to the right because it says you're not lined up for this runway. So it's going to line us up. Now the only thing we need to touch is the throttle to keep us lined up, in theory. I don't know in the real world if pilots fully trust the approach mode to do it all for them, but today we're gonna. Okay, so it's got full control, autopilot's got full control of the aircraft. Only thing I'm touching is the throttle. All I'm gonna do is maintain that nice little sweet speed between 80 and 90, and then we want to reduce it down to about 60 just prior to landing. We'll know if it's got the glide path because as we approach it should suddenly start to drop altitude. Okay, we're going to go for our next stage of flaps. Is we'll get the next frequency ready, which is 121.9. That is for the ground. Okay. So far so good. Speed's good at 80. Still can't see anything. Just about make out the ground there. checks. Gear is down, landing lights are on. Flaps, we've got one more stage left. All gauges are in the green. We're lined up, tuned into the ILS. But we can't see anything. Okay, so let's have that last stage of flaps now. Just have to increase the throttle slightly. I feel more confident once I see that altitude suddenly start to drop. So I know we've hooked the glide path. Well, I'd feel more confident if I could see something out the window, if I'm honest, but fog, and more fog it is. Let's see what it looks like on the outside. Just put it outside. That's a whiteout. We're still not cheating, we're still not going to use little nav map. So notice we started to increase speed there. It's because our altitude is decreasing, so it has caught the glide path. All we've got to do now is monitor that airspeed with the throttle. Keep our eye out for the ground rushing up at us, and if it does, max throttle, hope for the best, and pull up. Just make out the ground. I mean, couldn't have planned this any better for testing out an ILS landing. Zero visibility. Trust in the kit. We're descending at roughly 500 feet per minute on the vertical speed indicator there. Going a little bit quick, so we'll just take off a bit more throttle. Coming through 800 feet. System's still looking good. 650 feet. A little bit more off the throttle. Start to get us down around 70 if we can. Got full flaps applied. Everything's still in the green. No warnings. Passing through 500 feet. really would like to be able to see the runway soon. There we go, got the lights. So reduce throttle even more. We're going to be doing about between 60 and 50 on touchdown. Yeah, there it is, lovely. See that there? So we're dead on course. Airspeed's good, 300 feet. So here's where you would normally take over. You've got the runway in sight, but we're going to let it do it all. So 60. Gently, gently, gently. Try and get it to about 55, 50. Look, it's even flaring a little bit for us. Oh. On the brake, and that noise was me disengaging the autopilot. We'll get the first taxiway off. To the hold short. So quickly put the parking brake on. Sorry, sat too far back in my chair then. Okay, we'll turn our landing lights off, taxi lights on. We'll fully raise our flaps. Okay, so let's get clearance for taxi. Sonoma ground, Cessna, November 1664. Clear of runway 32, request taxi to parking.
Cessna, November 1664, taxi to parking via Bravo and Alpha.
Taxi to parking via Bravo and Alpha, Cessna, November 1664. So that's us finished with the traffic control. We can now come off the parking brake. Gently into the throttle. Assume our parking space, and then back on. There we go. Throttle fully out, mixture fully out, prop fully out. That should gently kill the engine. There we go. So that is a full flight. Shut down. Just kill the avionics to start with. Turn our landing lights off. Pitot heat off. Nav lights off. There you go, beacon lights off. Everything off. Lovely. Alternator off. Magneto through to off. Finally battery off. So that's everything shut down. One other thing which is down here is the tablet, which you get. Let me just turn the head tracking off for a second. So quite a nifty little tablet. A lot of the planes you buy now come with these. Just allow you to do things. Let me show you the external elements. If I pop us outside. So you can look after your aircraft. Look, nice little touch. Get all the covers and tags on there, and they've put a lot of effort into those. You know, they graphically it's not something you really need. It's just a lovely little touch that they add. So like I say, they've put a lot into it. You can open and close all the doors from there. Next page. If you have got different type of sat navs and autopilots, you can install them on here. I don't have any of these, so I just have the standard one on. You got all your startup options like cold and dark, or you can jump to ready for taxi, ready for takeoff. Checklists, all different checklists, and it's got your RPMs and stuff, which is always quite useful. These are the very, very basic checklists, but it's enough to get you going. So that is the tablet, and that is the autopilot function on the Cessna 182. Does have, like I say, it has a GPS as well, which is very good. I've used that before. It's just too much to fit in one video, so we'll do that in a separate one. But I'm very impressed with how the approach mode works on this plane. That was probably a smoother landing than I could ever do, and in complete zero visibility, so I'm not going to knock that. And VOR, but I tell you what, let's look at the actual route we flew. So we didn't cheat, we didn't look at it midway through, and that is pretty much exactly as we wanted, wasn't it? So we took off from Petaluma, kept runway heading there or thereabouts, and then made our left turn straight into the VOR. Then you can see this is where it started to deviate on the outskirts of the VOR, as it does as you get close. So we've gone straight over the top of it, made our sweeping right turn, head generally back towards Petaluma, and then left to pick up the ILS. So it's pretty much bang on what we were looking for. Little nav map's great because it gives you all the VORs, all the ILSs, and as you can see, it links into the simulator, so you can see your routes on there. So that is the Cessna 182 VOR navigation and approach mode. Thanks very much. See you on the next one.